Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join our latest webinar. My name is June Robinson. I'm Business Director here at Fresh Egg, working with all of our specialists across optimization and ensuring that we can improve user journeys and outcomes for our clients. I'm going to hand over to Lee shortly. Lee's going to use today's session just to take you through some of the ways that we are using AI to drive efficiencies and to improve some of our marketing tasks and how that could be helpful, hopefully, to you in your business as well. Please do feel free to send any questions through on the chat. That will be really appreciated, as well as any feedback that you might have for this session and any future sessions. We always welcome feedback, and we're always happy to try and answer as many questions as we can. So today's session is around 45 minutes, and we will have around 10 to 12 minutes for questions at the end. So please do keep them coming, and we look forward to responding to them. Thanks, Lee. Hand over to you.
Okay, excellent. I assume everyone can see the opening slide and the slide deck, okay? Yeah, as June said, my name's Lee Davies. I'm the AI engineer here at Fresh Egg, and what that means is I try and craft and create solutions with the team for all the different teams within Fresh Egg to try and help them with their jobs and help them get better outcomes for our clients. So today, a few things we wanted to talk about. Today, really, I'm here as a representative of the other teams to sort of lift the lid on a little bit of the work that we're doing behind the scenes using AI across various aspects of the business. So obviously, it's a very wide-ranging subject. I picked out a few things, a few internal projects of note that I thought might spark some ideas amongst you guys as well of how you can use this stuff in your own businesses. So we're going to take a look at AI-powered persona development, which is quite an interesting one. Then I'll be speaking on behalf of our SEO team about how we're starting to use AI in SEO. Then a bit on behalf of the CRO team, the conversion rate optimization team. They're doing some really quite interesting strategic stuff using AI. So I'll give you an overview of that as well. And those three alone should probably take up all of our talking time, but I'll be very good on the clock to make sure we leave time for Q&A at the end. I think that's probably where you might get the most value from this session. So without further ado, just to say, if you've got questions, as June said, put them in the chat. While I'm presenting with my notes, I can't see the chat, so I'll address the questions at the end. June, if anything urgent comes up that you think is worth raising while I'm going through this, feel free to interrupt and repeat the question, and I can give an answer.
Will do. Thanks, Lee.
Excellent. Right. First of all, AI-powered persona development. Incorporating AI-powered personas to make marketing strategy decisions faster. So, as I'm sure no doubt most of you on the call know, marketers for many years have relied on this idea of customer personas to guide their strategies, where you create fictitious amalgams of customers that represent particular segments of the audience on your customer base that you're trying to target your marketing activities towards. We've probably all seen these sort of personas. They tend to be a document, a carefully crafted document with a stock photo of somebody, a fictional name, hypothetical preferences, sort of thing. Meet Sarah, 35-year-old urban professional who enjoys yoga and craft coffee, that sort of thing, right? And personas obviously have a large role in marketing, have served us well. Traditionally, they do have some limitations, and I'm sure you might have seen this in agencies or your own organizations. And I think a lot of it is down to the fact they're static documents, and therefore they can come out of date quite quickly. They tend to be based on limited research or a snapshot in time research, usually interviews, surveys. But the biggest drawback is that fundamentally they're hypothetical, right? You can't actually ask the persona what they think about some new copy or a new campaign you're doing. They're not interactive. And that's where, this exciting possibility of using this new generation of generative AI could help with persona development. So rather than just having these static documents, we can try and make an AI persona that's interactive and that we can keep updating with new research as it comes in, new survey results. So much more dynamic, and you can interact with them in real time to actually elicit feedback and test the market against your personas before going out to market. So that's a lofty idea. It sounds great. But what we try and do in these webinars is to imbue some practical advice. How can you actually do this? So how can we actually create these personas today? Look, if you think about it, like what you're trying to do is craft like a digital twin of particular customer types, right? Not just descriptions of them. You want it to think and respond like them. Now, it's not as complicated as it might sound. Most of the modern generative AI platforms, Google Gemini, ChatGPT with OpenAI, they all offer the ability to create these ideas of custom GPTs or custom agents, where you can give it specific knowledge in the forms of files, text, and you can craft it by giving instructions to the kind of persona it should have. So these tools have completely lowered the technical barrier to implementing these, and that's really only been like the last 12 months. So how would you go about it? Well, first of all, you want to segment your users into the persona groups that you want to represent. Then really you want as much data on those customer segments as possible. So what we've talked about already, those traditional interviews and survey results, but because we're feeding this into an AI, into a machine, you could put a lot more raw data in. So data from your CRM, survey responses, but it might be support tickets or product reviews, social media interactions, purchase histories, what people in that segment have bought in the past. Obviously, one real key caveat here is to anonymize the data before you feed it into these third-party platforms. What you don't want to be doing is just going and taking a load of massive sample of thousands of emails from customers and plonk them in as is, because obviously you're sharing personal information there with a third party and without proper permissions to do it. But that said, if you prepare all the data you've got, you can give it directly to these GPTs very easily. In a minute, I'll give you a live demo and we'll create one just to give you an idea, flavour for how you can actually go about it. But very quickly, once you've done that, the idea of what are the benefits then? Why have we done this? The key thing is interact with it and testing things before going to market. If you've got a piece of copy or blog content or a headline that you want to use in a digital ad, you can actually go give it to these individual personas and ask for their feedback on it. You can maybe give it, a web page text that a page is supposed to elicit a particular action or conversion, and you can ask them. You can literally ask the AI, feed it the image of the web page, and say to it, "How would you go about, I don't know, purchasing the pair of shoes?" And they'll reply what they'll do on that web page, and you can start seeing whether the design, the layout, the copy, anything like that is resonating or causing problems with particular personas. Email subject lines, anything, any marketing material you want to test, really.
Lee, I'm sure you're going to come on to this, but is it something that you will cover in that you can do this at scale? It's not limited. You can create as many of these personas as you need.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is when you see how easy it is, hopefully you'll think, "Oh, brilliant! I can create multiple ones of these." And you can do it at scale. The amount of data you can put in. Obviously, there comes a cost. Like what I'm going to show, I'm going to use ChatGPT's way of doing this, and you have to have a pro subscription to access to build the custom GPTs. That's still only talking like £30 a month for an individual subscription. So yeah, without further ado, maybe I'll show you how we go about creating one just to give you a flavour. there's some instructions here, so when we share the deck after the presentation, you'll be able to follow them. But it really is that easy. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to change what I'm sharing so that you can see my browser. Sorry, 1 second.
Whilst you're doing that, Lee, I do think
Yeah.
this is really, fascinating and exciting in that you can create these effectively, pools of people that you can test ideas with, test campaigns with, test messaging with, really easily and really quickly. So that's what I find so exciting about this, the fact that you actually get that interaction and feedback really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see my screen, June, yeah?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just logged in, just got to chatgpt.com. This is my account, and here on the left-hand side, you'll have this idea, explore GPTs. So this is where you can search for custom GPTs that other people have created, but what we're interested in is creating your own. And when you create them, they don't have to be public, so other people won't be able to access your GPTs on here unless you choose to do that. So if I click create, as a guided interface, we'll ask you questions. What do you want this GPT to do? So you can literally describe what it is you want. I want this GPT to represent a particular customer persona. So let's put that in like, I would like this GPT to represent a particular customer persona of ours. We are a digital marketing agency. One of our customer personas is, I don't know, let's say marketing directors. And you can be really specific. Let's say we've got quite a lot of insurance company clients. So marketing directors of large UK insurance companies. I'll give it that first of all. And it'll reply. But the idea is you can just keep should it act as if it is the persona? So it's ask us a few questions. So I'm going to say, yes, I'd like you to act as if you're the persona. I could give it a name. Yes, I would like you to react as if you were the persona. Your name is, I don't know, but Dylan, because that's my son's name. Let's try that. Let's ask us what key traits, challenges, priorities should I emphasize? So again, I'd describe that and give it as much information as you possibly can. But the key thing is down here, this little plus button, you can also upload files directly from your computer or link it to Drive. So what you can do is you can give it all the research, all your survey results, stuff I was talking about earlier, tidied up CRM data, anonymized communications that you've had from customers in this segment. The more information you give it, the better it will respond. And it's not set in stone. You can always revisit it. And if you go to, I'll go to configure instead of create. At any time, you can change the files it's got. You can upload more files to it. You can give it even more instructions. But the idea is at any point, you can experiment and ask it. So I can say, hello, Dylan, tell me about yourself. Now, obviously, this is really crude because I've given it virtually no information other than a job title. But the idea is the more information you get in, the more you get out. But what you do get then is a fully interactive agent that you can talk to, who bases his opinions, their opinions on the information you've given it, and represents your persona. So it really is as easy as that. And as a result, you can make as many of those GPTs as you like within your one account. So I just click create this one. You can decide to share it with others in your organization, give them the link, just yourself, or you can make it public in the store. I'm going to make this one only me because I'll delete it after the presentation. But it really is as easy as that. You get a link to it. You can also upload a photo. You can get it to generate a photo, an artificial photograph as a persona. So hopefully that gives you a flavour for what you can do. It's quite a
Yeah,
brief
yes.
demonstration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really, really helpful. I guess the immediate question, which someone has already asked, is around, is this available with a free account?
Yes and no. So the you need a minimum plus account on for the ChatGPT version of it as well. You'll find like the Google ones, if you've got Google Workplace in your organization and you've got a tier that includes it, then you can create these things. But as far as I'm aware, none of them have the custom GPTs and the custom agents on their free tiers at the moment.
Okay.
It may well change because it's a bit of a race to the bottom at the moment. They're all competing with each other.
Absolutely. And just in terms of the file types, you can upload and share any file types. Do some file types work better? Is it best to put it into
Yeah, so
a
so it's
CSV
all
file or?
yeah, so it's all very text based. So you can upload, um, PowerPoint slides, PDF text documents, Excel files. Um, but really, all it's doing is extracting the text from that. So structured text is better. So research documents, PDFs, text files, Word documents, things like that. Stuff where documents where it needs a lot of the images for the context, it's not so good at absorbing because ultimately it's just um, ingesting all the text in the documents you put up there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lee.
That's okay. Okay, so you're back on the slideshow, yeah? June, can you see the slides?
Yes, Lee, that's great.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So just to summarise that very quick whirlwind tour of some of the stuff we're looking at and using AI for with personas, it just ultimately is another tool in our belt to help make strategic decisions faster. Okay, I think we're about on time actually. That's good. So in this next section, I've been asked to talk about some of the things our SEO team have been using AI for. When I approached them for some things to put into these slides and for this tool, they've got a massive list of things and it gets very technical very quickly. So we're thinking of following up with a webinar specifically around that. But what I've chosen to do is pick out a few tasks, some around technical SEO. So some of the work that any of you guys on the call, if you are involved in search engine optimization, some of the bread and butter, day in, day out, month in, month out, absolute core that needs to be done, the foundational stuff. How can we use AI to make that easier, make it take less time, automate elements of it, make it more efficient? But then I didn't just want to focus on those sort of quick wins. We want to look at some of the more advanced and strategic ways that the team are starting to use some of these generative AI technologies. So yeah, it's improving our workflow in those two main areas, automating technical tasks that are important. These are things, so some examples that I've put on here, like alt text for images, meta descriptions, you know, SEO friendly headings, writing product category text. That's what we find with our e-commerce retailers in particular. An awful lot of products on there. The category descriptions are a real fertile area for SEO, and they tend not to be very SEO focused. So it's really good at helping us write more SEO focused product category text. And then there's more technical stuff like schema markup as well. Anyone involved in SEO will know the importance of Google placing on these schema. For those that don't, these schema are ways of marking up elements in a page in a slightly more structured way that helps the search engines find them. So there's e-commerce schema to show if a product is a product listing page, what the products are on it, what the attributes of the product, or if it's a news page or a news listing page. And while not massively difficult, these schema, because they're formal documents, you have to get the syntax right. So it's more akin to coding, whereas actually now the AI makes it so much easier to write these schema and saves our team a lot of time. So those technical tasks are those building blocks for solid SEO, and they are quite time consuming and repetitive. AI enabling us to do those quicker means that, for example, if you're on an SEO retainer with us, you've got more time for strategic thinking because less time is taken up with this grunt work, which the machine can do. But we're also starting to see AI support some of their more advanced SEO activities. So these are more things around research, so topic research, generating content, um, identifying gaps in content on the website, because these generative AI tools are really good at reading and understanding natural language and text. You can give it all the copy of a web page or a website, tell it what it is you're aiming to, what the intent of the pages is, and it can look for content gaps, and then you can also use it to help assist generating some of that content. Similarly, I've got there the last item there, semantic mapping of pages. Now, that sounds complicated, but what we mean here is if you're migrating to a new website, you don't want to lose all the SEO benefit that you've spent years building up. So we map old URLs to pages on the new site, so those old URLs don't just 404 anymore. But there might not be a one-to-one correspondence when you design your new website. There might have been 3 pages about something on the old site, but only 1 page on the new site. What you can do here, we can run AI over all the old pages for any given old page, say, read it, look at all the pages on the new site, and tell me which one is most similar or contains the information people were looking for on this page on the old site. And that used to be something that we'd do manually. That was a huge thing and really key to get right when launching new websites, is to make sure that you maintain the SEO benefit you've got by carefully doing this topic mapping, semantic mapping between pages. The AI is speeding that up so much. Okay, so they're the sort of technical SEO tasks, but as I said at the beginning of this section, we don't just want to do what we already do, but better, faster, quicker using AI. We want to think, are there new things we can do, stuff we've not done before, which now suddenly become possible. Now, because these large language models are really good at understanding language, obviously, and the subtleties of language and the sentiment at scale, this means that we can now approach some tasks that you would never have approached before because you would never have had the time or resource to do. So one example is looking at the sentiment of pages on the website, look at what their pages contain and try and map that against what the intent the user has, or we think they have when they reach those pages. So doing this sort of thing can help us identify like misalignments, places where the content on the page doesn't match what people are kind of looking for, what we think they're looking for. So look at those gaps. We can improve the user experience. That hopefully will improve the rankings for the queries that are bringing people to the site. Looking at thematically similar pages, so we could start looking about internal linking. So that's quite important to the way search engines rank your site. Links from pages inside your site to other pages in your site. You can very quickly send the AI across to spider your site, look at the content, and look for where there are links, thematic links, where people might go from one to the other, but where there's no actual hyperlink between them, and suggest it. Now that's fine, and we do that as a matter of course on sites that we design anyway as part of the process, because you can do it at scale. The opportunity it opens up is not just doing it on your site, looking at thematic groups on competitor sites, seeing what thematic groups they've got, where you might be underrepresenting a group with the amount of content you've got, whereas they've got a lot more. So what you can start doing is not just look at your own site, but looking at it in the context of the wider market, because you can do this sort of analysis you do on your own site, because it's so much more efficient. We can now do it across a dozen sites. So you can pick half a dozen competitors and do that same analysis. And that's what we're starting to do. The team is starting to use these tools for now. And it's just opened up fertile areas for where they think they can improve our clients' sites.
Thanks, Lee. Before you just move on, I think it's again might be just useful just to confirm in order to do this,
Yeah.
again, you're looking at a kind of a more of a kind of account paid for account level to enable some of those tasks.
Yeah, not necessarily. To do
Mhm.
it quickly and at scale, what you'll find you'll either want, as we have internally, an engineer who can write some automations and use the APIs, which you do have to, they're metered and you pay for, but it, there's not a lot at all. Or SEO tools like Screaming Frog, for example, that do crawls over the website. So you might already have in your toolbox. You can write custom scripts in there. They have a section where you can write scripts, and they've got examples that will go out and connect to ChatGPT, for example, or Gemini and do it. So no, you don't necessarily have to pay there for it if you've got those abilities in existing tools. But to do it at scale and to automate it, you're going to need some element of scripting. So that's either having, an engineer or someone who can write the scripts to do it, or using a paid for tool like some of the tools you might have in your arsenal already and extending those to use it. But
Great.
in
Yeah.
theory, you cut paste into the free chat GPT or Gemini and get the same results, but obviously you won't get
Mm.
it as efficiently as making an automated process to do it.
Yeah, okay. And what I find really fascinating and useful about that is that quite often organizations that we work with may only have the resource internally to do this once, twice a year at the most, doing it manually. But with these tools, we can really drive efficiencies and do this much more regularly. So whether that's quarterly, monthly, at a campaign level. So it really does help with driving efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that idea of being able to do it regularly, I think that's really key when it comes to the competitor analysis. That's what we're really excited about, being able to offer, monthly updates to clients with not only what's performing well from an SEO point of view on your own site, but here's your competitors. What are they changing about their content? They're building
Mm.
out this theme, it seems. They're adding more content around this particular thing. And by doing that monthly, month by month, that sort of cadence, it means our clients can respond strategically to that. If they see a competitor, for example, while a client in the financial services space, or the competitor suddenly is building out a lot more about, I don't know, reselling ISAs through IFAs. They they can see that there's a strategic shift in what their competitors are doing, and that helps inform them about what they're doing on their own site and what they're doing within their own business. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, performing these tasks much more regularly because it is cheaper and quicker and easier. Um, I might not touch too much on this. This is goes over some of that ground that we're just talking to. It just really summarises it. The idea we can now do it en masse, see if new players are entering the market, analysing the pages that are working well on the client competitor sites, comparing our sites to those competitor sites to highlight opportunities. That's where the team are getting really excited at the moment, and that's where I've been helping them write these automations to try and generate these insights that they can then take into their work and ultimately drive better results for our clients. So to summarise the SEO work, and there's a lot of it, the main crux is trying to automate some of the technical complexity, which gives them much more time to do what they're really interested in, which is the more strategic thinking about, how to deliver better results for clients. Excuse me 1 second. A
No
quick sip of
problem.
water before we move on to conversion rate optimization. Okay. Sorry, bit of a dry throat. Conversion rate optimization. So very briefly, we have quite a large team at Fresh Egg focused solely on conversion rate optimization and are doing some amazing work for clients. And we've had some real big key successes. The great thing with CRO and the trickier thing with SEO is CRO. It's it's easier to attribute stuff, to the bottom line. You see an increase in the conversions for X, and that leads to sales uplift Y. It's nearer, the conversions are nearer the point of sale, so they're easier to measure the benefit. But obviously the craft is a difficult one. These slides are from the SEO team, part of a wider talk that our head of optimization, Jake, delivered up in London. I've picked out a few key slides to not go into too much technical detail about the CRO process, but really talk about how they're thinking about using AI to zoom out a bit wider and again be more strategic than the day-to-day implementation. So this slide, you don't need to necessarily understand everything that's going on there, but that's to illustrate the idea that one of the first steps is to go through all the different journeys on a website that you're looking to optimize. And going through those journeys takes time. There's lots and lots of journeys, lots of different ways of achieving the same ends. And we go through that manually at the moment, and the CRO team will make notes. And what they do with every journey that they go through, they analyze it. And again, you don't need to understand these actual steps, but the idea is to say that, they basically have 7 key lenses they look at customer journeys through. 7 dimensions, their dimensions framework, that's the team call it. But if you multiply the number of journeys through a site by 7, by the number of dimensions that you're considering, you start getting a very large number. And so the analysis takes a long time. And then once you've got that analysis, that's what feeds into what areas should be prioritized for focus for improvement. So what we've been looking at, and this is very much a live project that I'm working closely with the team at the moment, is to look at doing exactly that, and maybe even doing that down to the page level on a site rather than just the journeys. In effect, using AI to go through one of the dimensions at a time and look at these journeys and these web pages with a bias towards that dimension. So basically, you ask a large language model, for example, motivation. If we go back and look at the definition, how's a visitor inspired to take action? You can give it not just the copy of the pages, but actual screenshots of the pages, because these models now understand vision, and you give it a screenshot of the pages in the journey. You give it the copy. You say, right, tell me for each one of these pages, has it got any social signals on that page, for example, in that journey? At what point and what might they encourage? So for each one of these dimensions, we've got these custom prompts, and then we feed it the pages, and we get it to output. And basically, the idea is you build a big old grid, and then you plot on that grid where you're doing well, where there are gaps, and then the team can decide where to focus their energies for improving sections of the site and sections of the journey. But again, just so we talk about with SEO, it becomes even more interesting if you can do that against competitors. So this grid is like illustrative example, lathe weights, wine. It might be that their listing page and product pages are great for motivation and social signals, less so on the other axes, on the other dimensions. But actually, one of their competitors, Naked Wines, is stronger on that 3rd dimension on their product pages, or that 5th dimension on their checkout page. Now, obviously, the CRO guys understand these dimensions that they've created and the thinking behind that. I'm just the engineer. I'm just putting a technical solution that allows us to feed these things in and get the results out. And it's a work in progress to create a system that's doing it. But the idea is when you start seeing those gaps, or where a competitor is outperforming you, brilliant. That's where you want to prioritize and focus your efforts, instead of just starting from one section of the site and going through every journey just trying to optimize it, because of course it's a never-ending task and you're resource constrained. To be able to focus in, laser in on those areas where you can gain competitive advantage over your competitors. That's what they're really excited about, and what Jake wanted me to highlight in this talk. But as I say, those slides come out of a larger talk, which I'm pretty sure is linked to from our website as well. I'm sure, no doubt, we'll probably do another webinar focus 100% on the CRO side of AI soon as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Lee, I think that's incredibly exciting in terms of, just how more efficient that process will be. It is an incredibly complex area of research that our teams do. So anything that can really help do that at scale, as well as look at, across your competitor set, is incredibly exciting. And I'm sure that's something that's going to continue to evolve and grow with the client work that we do in that area. So really, really exciting. And again, just to touch on Lee's point, we will absolutely, if there's any kind of feedback or comments, if you'd like to see more specifically related to SEO or CRO, then please do share that in the comments or after the session, because we can then really factor that into our kind of training and webinar planning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so actually, I think I finished 5 minutes faster than when I did my timed one. So sorry if I rushed that or to speaking too quickly. That does mean it gives us a bit of additional time for questions. If I stop sharing the screen for a moment, so should be able to see me now. Excellent. Have you been keeping an eye on the questions, June? Or any that?
But most of the questions are coming in now, actually, which
Oh,
is
okay, brilliant.
helpful. So
Oh, there's a really interesting one here, I see. How do you mitigate for hallucinations? So hallucinations, for those that don't know, is a term given to when these large language models just make stuff up. They start using things that don't exist. So how do we get around that? Well, by specificity. So what I mean by that is being as specific as you can with what you ask, giving it examples. So for my field, I use it a lot for code generation, and occasionally it will make up. Say, well, I want to integrate with. I was doing this the other day, using a HubSpot API to do some automations in our CRM. So I wrote a bit of code, but it completely hallucinated an API endpoint that kind of doesn't exist. Mitigate that by giving it, when asking the question, here's the documentation of the HubSpot API. Now answer this question. So that's a very specific example, but the way to try and avoid hallucinations as far as possible is to be specific in what you're asking and give it constraints to work within. So you're telling it to give it the URLs for documentation that it has to consult first, or bound it by saying you're using the work of such as and only considering stuff that's been published on this subject. Or we use it a lot by, especially in those custom GPTs, uploading documents to it. And then you say only using knowledge from the base of document we've given you, answer this question, and then it's much more reliable and doesn't make things up so much. Let's have a look at another question. We've addressed the one about pricing. It does vary. Google and their Gemini models now, if you use Google for any other services internally like we do, that's become ridiculously cheap. So your mileage may vary, and they're changing their pricing all the time across the different operators, but it's getting better all the time, basically, on that one. Let's have a look. Oh, on here in the Q&A. Any AI use cases for demand generation? That's an interesting one. What that we've been using directly internally, I suppose, at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that there'll be people looking at it. Might be something I have to get back to you on. All right. I can't see any more, June. Can
no,
you?
absolutely. No, I think those are the few that have come through so far. If there's any last questions, do feel free to drop them into the Q&A or to the chat, whichever's easiest.
Yeah, and we'll share the deck from this, and when we share it as well, I'll see if I can find a link to the talk that Jake did on the CRO side of things, because that's very interesting as well.
I think there's a question just come in, Lee, bottom.
We use AI to identify ranking factors that we've not considered before by finding common denominators across results. Yes, that's a great idea, really. And not even just with the generative AI stuff, that's a classic machine learning problem. What you can say is, the these documents or these URLs, here's the content of them, this is their ranking position. Assume that we don't know what any ranking factors are. You'd obviously have to give it quite a large amount of examples, and you tell it to create a model as to what attributes of those documents would account for that distribution of ranking. You're right. Combining that with the generative AI stuff to read the text, to do the NLP stuff, to actually understand the copy on there, but then feeding that into a more traditional uh, AI regression model to say, here's all this copy, here are the attributes. So maybe we'd use the LLMs to generate attributes for each URL. Like, here's its headings, here's its copy, here's what the LLM thinks the topic is, or topics that are touched on, number of attributes like that, and then put that into a machine learning model and say, well, given all these examples and there's their attributes, here's the ranking distribution, predict which one, make a model based on those uh, degrees of freedom as to which ones correlate most, and do it. So that's a really interesting one, to try and second guess what Google is using to rank these things. But you have to be careful as well, because obviously a lot of it is in the linking structure. So doing attributes of individual URLs probably wouldn't capture that. So you'd have to think of a way of encapsulating the relationships between the pages. But yeah, it's a real interesting one, Duncan. I think, we could certainly use it for tasks like that. Can we share a recording of this session too? I'm pretty sure we can. It said it was recorded, wasn't it? Don't imagine why we'd be recording it if we weren't sharing it.
Yeah, we happily share it. Hopefully tomorrow, I think it's normally scheduled to be shared.
Yeah. Do you struggle with custom GPTs confusing similar products or services you provide? Extensive conversational training cannot seem to wipe out this issue. Yeah, I mean, even saying the word GPTs, not even a word, is it? An acronym, GPTs. I struggle. Struggling what everybody's naming what. Yeah, is a struggle. Also, doesn't help that Google keep renaming their stuff every few minutes as well. So, and actually, I got pulled up on this when doing a dry run of this presentation as to what does GPT mean. People think, oh, I'm dumb if I don't know what I mean. No one really has to know what it actually means. It stands for Generalized Pre-trained Transformer. That's just a technical term for the kind of AI model it is. So I wouldn't get hung up on that at all. It's just entered, the common vernacular now because of ChatGPT, I suppose. Excellent. Well, we're a little ahead of schedule here, June.
Yeah, fantastic. Unless there's any final few questions, we're more than happy to hold on for a couple of minutes. I'm just checking the chat as well, but can't see. No, I think most of the questions have come through already.
Okay, excellent.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining today's session. I hope you found it useful. As we've confirmed, we will be sharing the recording, so hopefully you can replay this, share with your colleagues, and hopefully you found it useful. Please do keep in touch with Fresh Egg either via our newsletter or on our event page on our website. We are regularly holding these smaller sessions, quite often very tactical in their nature. So hopefully you and your colleagues will find them useful in your everyday kind of marketing activities. So thanks, Lee. Really appreciate your help talking through some of the ways that we're using AI. If there's any final questions, I'll leave them for you to just respond to, but no, can't see any come through. Can you, Lee?
Q&A. I think I might have missed one. I don't know, by Chloe earlier. I don't want to miss anyone out. He's using the same prompts and asking the same questions. over consecutive days to monitor consistency worthwhile. It it is the key thing to understand is these things they're not deterministic in the classic sense. If you ask the same thing twice, you won't get exactly the same answer. But you're right. What you don't want is wildly different. So I think this question is in relation to the personas. When you develop the personas, yeah, interact with them as much as possible to get a feel for are they responding the way that you expect these personas to respond. They will vary. You know, you won't get the same exact response twice, but the underlying thinking and reasoning should be the same. Hopefully that addresses that for Chloe. But that's it. That's all the other questions, I think.
So thanks everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time this morning. I hope you found it useful and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks everyone. Bye.